My name is Edward Sanshin Oberholtzer. I'm the resident priest here at the Joseph Priestley Zen Community in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. We are an affiliate of Empty Moon Zen. By way of confession, I can be pretty uncharitable. Let's get that out of the way at the outset. When I was in law school 40 years ago, I used to take long walks late at night through our Cambridge working class neighborhood as a way to deal with school stress. One cold winter night, nearing midnight, as I was walking home, I passed by a classic Cambridge triple-decker when the front door opened and an elderly woman dressed in a housecoat and slippers came out, walked down the steps, and across the small front yard to that ubiquitous blue and white statue of the Virgin Mary on the Halfshell. Maria Maristella, Mary, Star of the Sea. She stood quietly in front of Mary, hands clasped together, seeming to listen intently. Now, back then, rather than spending time with legal casebooks, a neglect that should have told me something about my future career in the law, instead of reading criminal law and federal procedure, I was reading The Origins of Consciousness in the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind by Julian Jaynes, and seeing that woman standing before a statue of the Virgin Mary brought to mind what Jaynes referred to when he wrote of ancient Sumerians believing themselves to be instructed by wide-eyed statues of gods when they, in fact, were simply hearing the other side of their own brains instructing them. Now, Jaynes's book had a certain disreputable quality in its over-reliance on speculation, in its thesis that self-consciousness was a recent phenomena. But on that cold night, to me, it rang true, if uncharitably true. But I think now this woman's devotion cut deeper than Catholic theology, deeper than any thought of the bicameral mind. There was a devotion to something more fundamental, an opening to something deeper, more physical. I used to be amused, and in truth I'm still amused, again perhaps uncharitably, by Christianity's disavowal of what looks to me suspiciously like polytheism, and in particular with Catholicism's more expansive polytheism with its veneration of the Virgin Mary. But perhaps they're on to something. Perhaps that elderly woman was on to something. And here lies an opening and, for me, a path forward. Now, Buddhism has a long history of welcoming in gods and goddesses, of embracing the beliefs of the land it finds itself in. Taoism in China, the Bon religion in Tibet, Shinto in Japan. There is no greater world traveler in the Buddhist pantheon than Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion. She who hears the cries of the world. In China, the goddess Guanyin was recruited to fill her role. In Japan, the Bodhisattva became Kanzeon. But Buddhism is a restless practice, and for all its stillness, and has now acquired a toehold here in the West. And where will the Bodhisattva land? I have a lovely statue of Guanyin, standing on the back of a dragon, calming the raging sea with a vase filled and holding the waters of compassion and wisdom. Guanyin, Star of the Sea. Who better to bless the fishing fleets as they leave Gloucester Harbor? The Shushogi, a summary of Eihei Dogen's teachings, often chanted in Soto Zen temples, tells us, "Do not, being compelled by fear, vainly take refuge in mountain spirits or ghosts, or in the shrines of non-Buddhists. Mary on the Halfshell, Mary, Star of the Sea. Here is the Bodhisattva of compassion in advance of that Buddha Dharma, foothold in the New World. And who is to say that that elderly Cambridge woman wasn't taking refuge in Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mary, the New World incarnation of Guanyin? My grandmother's best friend, Louise, a woman who became a second grandmother to me, once said, "I'm not afraid of dying. I just like to know how things will turn out." She was 92 and concerned not with herself, but with what fate had in store for her nieces and nephews, for me and for my kids. There was a woman who understood the Bodhisattva way, and Louise left me with a question. How will Buddhism turn out here in the New World? Things are still fresh here. Whether Buddhism becomes better established is less a question of how it will appear than of how it will appear, what form it will take. And for that matter, what form the nation's religious and spiritual life will be changed by its encounter with the Dharma. Whatever the change, and change is, after all, the essence of the Dharma, whatever the change, I'll not pass by another Mary on the Halfshell, another star of the sea, without offering a moment of thanks to the Bodhisattva, a moment of charity in the midst of the uncharitable. Thank you.